Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Third time lucky. I've already started this twice and it hasn't worked, so we'll see how we go. Usual story. Where to start? Went on a night out last night. I should probably have put this on the RetroMovieZone channel, but I thought I'd incorporate it all into this to give me something to talk about. Went to Uttoxeter Racecourse last night to see the Human League. Remember those from the 80s? Don't You Want Me and all that lot. Cracking night, absolutely brilliant. Got there probably about 40 minutes before they came on. The last race was due to run. I didn't realise how loud these places were. To me, it was just a lot of very loud people trying to talk over each other and getting pissed. There was a lot of drunkenness there. I was quite surprised with it being a racecourse. I thought it would have been a slightly classier affair than that, but appears I was wrong. The actual band were brilliant, absolutely superb. One hell of a night. They did their usual set, all the classic hits. It was out in the open, which was brilliant. It had a kind of I would imagine a festival atmosphere. I've never been to one, so I don't know. But it was brilliant. We just sort of wandered in and very casually just sort of wandered right down to the front. There was no, what I expected, sort of jostling for people to get right down to the front to see them close up and this, that and the other. Everybody, we seemed perfectly happy with where they were. We just wandered, as I say, very casually right down to the front and stood and watched them right from the front. So yeah, really cracking night. Totally enjoyed it. Didn't like all the drunkenness that was going on. There was a lot, obviously, when we left. Everybody making, I'd hate to think all these people were driving. There were a couple of people that couldn't even stand up. So yeah, apart from that, it was an absolutely amazing night, and I'd recommend I've seen them now probably about half a dozen times. The last time was only last December in Nottingham, and they were superb. And I think this was roughly the same set as they did then, but they were on at Uttoxeter, and I thought it might make a sort of a nice night out. And I've not been to a festival or anything like that before, so the outdoor atmosphere sort of attracted me to it. And yeah, a cracking night. Take away all the piss heads and it was absolutely wonderful. So yeah, I'd recommend it. If you've not seen them and you're an 80s fan, I would highly recommend them. They do sound exactly like they do on the records and the CDs, because I would imagine it's easy to do with synthesizers and stuff like that. So yeah, highly recommend it if you get a chance. Next, Star Wars. Who remembers going to see Star Wars in 1977 when it first came out? It had a certain look to it. The special effects weren't absolutely brilliant. They were good, but they weren't as good as probably you would get now. Obviously, with CGI, it was way before all that. So George Lucas made the original trilogy, which was Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and then The Return of the Jedi. He left them alone for a few years, and shortly after decided to release special editions, which I seem to remember we all got quite excited about. He'd enhanced the special effects, he'd added in certain scenes, taken out certain lines of dialogue, basically tweaked it to look basically what he wanted the original trilogy to look like, and we were all quite happy with it. We thought it was absolutely amazing. And a few years after that, we all started wanting to see the original trilogy as we originally saw it in 1977. You couldn't get it. I think they were available for a very short while, but you certainly can't get them now as they were, unless you purchase something called the despecialized editions. Now this was started by a man who calls himself Harmy. I think it's Harmy. The despecialized editions are basically a fan-created series of movies which have been stripped of all the enhanced special effects, had all the deleted scenes put back in, the lines of dialogue changed back to the way they were. A lot of work went into this. They were done from various different sources, from DVDs, from Blu-rays, from laser discs. I believe they even took certain scenes from VHS. Cleaned everything up and released the despecialized editions. I believe it's on the black market. You can't get them sort of commercially. They're a very difficult thing to come by. You can't download them unless you follow certain links. I've tried it, and I got lost with all the different directions it was sending me in. You have to download sort of different parts of the film at different times, all that kind of thing. It's very, very complicated. But to cut a long story short, I was given this week. Star Wars the Despecialized Editions. Now, before you all get very excited, there isn't anything in there apart from a rather handsome looking card. Very nice piece of artwork there, and another one. I think, hang on, here we go. One for The Empire Strikes Back, and I'm guessing one for Return of the Jedi. So they sit nicely in there. Have I got these despecialized editions on DVD or Blu-ray? No, I haven't. I have got them, but not on that format. Now, this was designed by a guy at work. My Photoshop genius, Dave Lowe, he's the guy who designed the logos for the YouTube page. He designed and made the intro for the videos that you see, the curtains opening, that sort of thing. He's done pretty much all the artwork for those, and he created this. I would imagine it was in Photoshop, I don't know, but what a handsome looking case if ever these do become readily available to burn onto disc or whatever. He's even done the back sleeve, look. Isn't that gorgeous? So that is basically going to sit on a shelf with my other DVDs, looking for all intents and purposes like a proper set. Thanks, Dave. I'm well impressed with that. Absolutely good. I've been looking at it all week. Every time I sit at the desk, I pick it up and look at it and think, what a piece of work. I could never design anything like that. I'm not technically minded enough. So thanks for that, Dave. Much appreciated. What else have we got here? I mean, there's a possibility. I keep thinking that, I mean, George Lucas has said that he's not got any intention of releasing the original trilogy as screened in '77, the original versions at all. But I think, and I'm only guessing here, the 50th anniversary of Star Wars is in 2027. It would not surprise me at all if he decided to do it at that time. It would not surprise me at all. I mean, there are so many different box sets of Star Wars. I had 3 at one time, and I've trimmed it down to 1. It's annoying because you know this thing is coming, and I don't know why it just doesn't do it now. I mean, talking of 50th anniversary, you were showing off, Jason, last week, the Confessions box set, and it suddenly occurred to me that in 1974, in 2024 will be the 50th anniversary of the Confessions films. Wouldn't it be awesome if they released those as a box set on Blu-ray for a 50th anniversary? If RCA Columbia don't pick up on that, something is seriously wrong. That is ripe for sort of the Blu-ray treatment with loads of extras and all this sort of thing. I believe Robin Asquith is still kicking around, so they could get loads of interviews with him and his co-stars. I would imagine a few of them have passed away by now because it's been quite a few years, but the Confessions films were brilliant. They were part of the 70s. They were absolutely a huge part of the 70s, especially in the UK. So yeah, I would love to see those released as a box set on the 50th anniversary in a couple of years, and I would also love to see Star Wars released in the original versions. That would be amazing. But whether he's actually going to do it in 2027 or whether he's going to do it at all and stick to his word, I don't know. They just keep dangling these carrots in front of us, maybe, possibly, oh God. So we shall see. Callie, quick shout out. Love the Trauma collection. Absolutely loving that. I have never seen a Trauma movie. I have to confess, I've never seen one. This will come as absolutely no surprise to the rest of the group. My ever-growing list of movies that I haven't seen is just, yeah, it's long. Believe me, very long. I looked at Trauma movies a lot of years ago, probably in the 80s, and I kind of shied away from them because I thought they just looked cheap and nasty, and I've got a bit of an affection for them just recently. I keep looking at the sleeves and thinking I really should take one of these in, and you recommended one called Romeo and Juliet, which I'm going to try and get hold of and have a look. I looked at the trailer. It looks absolutely outrageous. So I shall see how I go with that. But yeah, keep posting in the group, mate. Well impressed with the Trauma collection that you've got, and you're talking about maybe doing your action figures over the coming weeks. So that'd be great. The group would love that, especially Star Wars and stuff like that. There's a lot of Star Wars fans in here. So yeah, keep posting, mate. Now then, guess what's coming back? Oh dear, Gangs of London returning for a second season. Gangs of London. I did a video on this quite a while ago. I watched the first episode and I found it absolutely horrifying. I've never seen anything so violent ever in my life on TV. I watched the first episode and was pretty much traumatized by it. This isn't just violence, this is next level violence. I did spend 90% of it watching it like this, and it was pretty horrible. Just recently I thought of maybe revisiting it and having a look and seeing whether it's as bad as I thought it was, and maybe seeing if I could finish the series. There were 10 episodes, but I don't know. Has anybody else seen this? Is anybody else familiar with Gangs of London? It's coming back for a second season, which makes me think maybe you should give it a go. But the thing is, the levels of violence in the original series, I would imagine it's going to be even worse in series 2 or season 2, but we'll see. But yeah, Gangs of London was one of my pet hates. It was really well done, don't get me wrong. I love gangster movies, gangster series, and it was really, really well done. It was just the violence was just horrendous. So yeah, I mean, check out that video. It goes back about 6 months. Funny enough, I noticed. I've not noticed this before, but I looked on the YouTube channel the other day. I've actually got 100 videos on there. I think I've read that right. Let me know if I'm wrong, but 100 videos. Christ, I remember doing the first one, and it was just an absolute nightmare. I just remember I was holding things up like this in front of me and to the side of me, and things were reflected. It was a nightmare. And to be fair, it's not come on that much since then, but it's a bit better than it was. But yeah, I was quite surprised at that. If you'd have asked me how many videos I've actually done for the channel, I'd have probably said 40, 50, possibly 60, but 100. I was quite impressed with myself on that one. So yeah, strength to strength. This will be number 101 if I've got that right. And back to Trauma. Chris, you put a post on about Toxic Avenger. Now, if I was going to start with a Trauma movie or watching Trauma movies, the Toxic Avenger is probably the one that I've heard of the most. I've never seen it, but I've always meant to get around to watching it, and apparently it's coming in for the remake treatment. Now, Trauma movies are notorious for being sort of splatterfests, violent, all that sort of thing. So what they're going to do with this movie, if it's got a bigger budget, is anybody's guess, but just have a listen to this for a cast list. You've got Elijah Wood, you've got Kevin Bacon, Peter Dinklage, who was what's his face in Game of Thrones, can't remember, the little fella, can't remember his name, but he's in there. There's no release date for it as yet. but I'd be very, very curious, especially after I've seen the first one, to see what they do with it. Because obviously it will have a bigger budget. You've got bigger stars. I think this is going to be something quite special, but we shall see. You'll have to let me know, Chris. You've obviously seen this, the original. You've obviously watched the original, so you'll have to let me know what you think of it. I'm gathering you're a fan if you flagged up this remake. So yeah, I'd be curious about that one. The other remake that's coming up later this year, which I cannot wait to see, is a remake of the Stephen King TV miniseries Salem's Lot. It was made or remade about 2004. I believe Rob Lowe was in it. I didn't see it. I wasn't really bothered about watching it because I'd still got memories of the 1977 version. Now, I was only 16 when this was screened on BBC One. It was in two parts, two 90-minute sections, one night after the other. And it was quite easily, I would say, the scariest thing I had ever seen on television at that time. It was just amazing, absolutely brilliant, and I would imagine it still holds up today. I need to revisit that one, without a doubt, and have a look. But I'm very curious to see what they do with the remake of it now. So yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to that one. Yeah, I've got my notes. What I've got here. Bin it or keep it. Let's do bin it or keep it. Bin it or keep it this week is Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Now, this isn't the original 1956 version upon which this is based, which I think that version was based on a book. This is the remake starring Donald Sutherland, Leonard Nimoy, what was the woman's name? Brooke Adams, Jeff Goldblum, Veronica Cartwright, who went on to do Alien the following year. This is a cracking sci-fi film. It's a brilliant remake. It's one of the few that I would say that has been remade that is actually as good as the original was. It's a completely different animal, obviously. The original was a 1956 black and white sci-fi classic. So this is a completely different thing. But the basic premise of it and the story is the same. Now, this is a binit, and the reason it's a binit, and I know I'm cheating a bit here again, is that I've upgraded to the Blu-ray, which I haven't seen yet. But it's absolutely packed with special features, so I'm really looking forward to watching that. So the DVD version is definitely a binit, but this, the Blu-ray version, is an absolute 100% keep it. So I'll be holding on to that one. What else have I got here? Soundtrack for the week. Here we go. Go back a bit. The world is full of married men. Now, remember The Stud and The Bitch from 1978 and 79? They were based on Jackie Collins' racy novels, starred Joan Collins. This is a very similar thing. It was released, I believe, 1979. It's also based on a Jackie Collins novel. It's set in the world of advertising. There are a lot of scenes in clubs. It is basically, I wouldn't call it softcore porn because it's not. It's what you would class as a racy drama, but it's not a very good one. But I personally loved it. I thought it was great, mostly because of the soundtrack and the scenes in the clubs. And this soundtrack has got pretty much everything on it. I mean, it's another gatefold sleeve one. If I just open it up, I can't see you now, but that's what's inside. Obviously, you've got the track listing on the back. But I love these 70s sort of disco type soundtracks. Absolutely brilliant. And the film itself, as I say, not especially good, but I thought it was all right. I loved it. You got some stars in there as well. You got Carol Baker, who was a legendary actress in sort of the 60s, 50s. Anthony Franciosa, Italian guy who did some work with Dario Argento on his horror movies, I believe. You've got Paul Nicholas, who was a sort of a pop star in the 70s, sort of 74, 75, had hits like Grandma's Party, that kind of thing. Yeah, it sounds a bit naff, and it probably was. Dancing with the Captain, that kind of thing. Gareth Hunt is in this, who played Mike Gambit in the new Avengers and also starred in Upstairs, Downstairs. He's in that. So yeah, it's a star-studded affair, and if you get the chance to watch it, I would definitely have a look at it because I thought it was really good. Um, what else have we got here? Let's have a look. What have I bought this week? Remember I showed you some Barry Norman books last week. I had one more through. I've forgotten I'd ordered this one, and this is the Hollywood Greats, and you've got basically potted biographies of people like Humphrey Bogart, Carol. Can't remember her name. In fact, would you believe it? I don't recognise anybody but Humphrey Bogart on that sleeve. Can I just have a look in the book and just see? Clark Gable, Errol Flynn, Spencer Tracy, Gary Cooper, Humphrey Bogart, Joan Crawford, Jean Harlow, Judy Garland, Charles Lawton. There's your answer. So I'll be having to read through that, but that was the last Barry Norman book that I ordered. On the tail end of those other three that I showed you last week, but that one came from a different supplier, which is why it came differently. Now then, what have I got here? Yes, movie tie-in book. Oh, Jason, you're going to love this one. Squirm. I remember buying this again. This would have been 1976, or maybe even 1975. It was before the film came out. And obviously, if I saw those words, the year's most horrific film, now a terrifying novel, obviously you've got to buy it. I remember this book being extremely graphic. I really do need to read this again. Obviously, the pages are a little faded because the thing's nearly 50 years old, but it is a cracking book, without a doubt. Well worth a read if you can get a copy of it. This is an original from sort of 1976. It made me want to watch the film. With that, absolutely made me want to watch the film, and I did catch it. It wasn't at the cinema because I'd have only been 14, and obviously this was an X certificate at the time, so there's no way I'd have got into that one. But I did catch it on Super 8mm. I bought at the time a black and white silent version, which was basically I think it was something like 12 minutes of the best scenes in black and white, but with no sound. And as I said before, that is how we rolled in the 70s. That's just how we did it. So, and then obviously I caught it on, I think it was VHS when it first came out, and it was as horrifying. I thought as horrifying as the book. And it's been a firm favourite of mine ever since. Jason hates this. He absolutely loathes this one. And obviously I got it on Blu-ray a few weeks ago, so I'm looking forward to having a look at that and maybe reading that at the same time. So now, quote encounters for this week. It's one line. I think you will all get this, but let's see how we go. I'll read it off the computer screen. It's one line. And here we go. I mean, funny like a clown, I amuse you. That's it. That's all it is. I mean, funny like a clown, like I amuse you. You'll get that. I know you will get that. Right, I've got to wrap it up, folks, slightly earlier. You will notice, or you will have noticed, that there are no reviews this week. I'm just the crappiest film reviewer ever, because basically I haven't had time to watch anything this week. Nothing at all. But I'm going to be putting it right next week. I'm going to try and get some in next week. And obviously have a few films to talk about, but yeah, this is just the worst film review channel ever, because I'm not actually reviewing films this week. I've just sat here prattling at you about Star Wars and Troma and Gangs of London and violent things and stuff like that. But I will be putting that right next week, fear not. So thanks ever so much for joining me, folks. I am a little bit shorter this week than usual, but I've got a few things to be getting on with. The one other thing I've got, and I've got to thank Dio for this. I'm going to move the camera slightly. A nice new piece of artwork in the background. Check that out. Scarface. I believe he's moving house. This is one of our security guards at work. He's moving house very shortly, and he doesn't want to take that with him. And he thought I might like it. So I've got to secure it to the wall. At the moment, as you can see, it is leaning on those books. And it is just begging to fall off and land on the floor, so I've got to secure it up there properly, because that's a really nice looking piece of artwork, that. Thanks ever so much for joining me, folks. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you all again next week with some movie reviews on this channel with a bit of luck. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and also subscribe. That would be amazing. Thanks ever so much for joining me. Take care, and I will see you all again next weekend. Bye bye.